piece of paper.
Boy, the Pavlovian response. I approach the microphone and silence ensues. It's great. I'd like to welcome all of you back, those of you who are here for our wonderful first session, and to welcome those of you who are just joining us now because you couldn't be here earlier, to the second of the Symposia in honor of President Robert Brown's inauguration. Today, as I said, we're celebrating a new era in the history of Boston University, having just inaugurated Bob yesterday, and we're considering the roles and responsibilities of a great university in relationship to its students, our community, and the world. In this session, we will examine our relationship with the city of Boston. And as I said before, if we started in the first session with the Earth from a distance, just imagine going in on Google Earth and watching it spin around and come down on the city of Boston. That's what we're doing now. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished panelists, and I will now turn the podium over to the chairs of this session who organized it, Karen Antman, our provost from the medical campus and dean of the Boston University School of Medicine, and Douglas Sears, dean of our School of Education. Karen, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I'm Doug Sears, dean of the School of Education, and here's Karen.
And I'm Karen Antman, the provost for the medical campus, and we are now transitioning from thinking globally to acting locally.
We are here to celebrate the inaugural of a new president. President Brown has brought a fresh set of eyes to our university and helped us to step back and look at ourselves, celebrating our past and looking to a bright future of service. So we are looking down at the university from space here. If we move forward, we're going to look at our two campuses. We thought that what's interesting about Boston University is you can't figure out where we are in the city. We are so everywhere. And so we look at space. Karen and I both came from small colleges. If you look at our colleges from space, you can spot them. We're everywhere. Next, let's look at Lemuel Murlin. With his fresh eyes, Bob has helped us to see the extent to which this university is engaged in the city and to force us in his graceful way to take an inventory of all the things that we're doing in the city and to better coordinate them so that we begin to realize how much we have realized the vision of our third president, Lemuel Murlin, who said, we are in the heart of the city, in the service of the city. To a remarkable extent, we have realized this vision, and our hope for the future is to make good on what has been done, tie it together better, and serve better.
Deep in Boston's South End, Boston University's medical campus provides medical and dental care to a diverse urban population. The School of Public Health determines health policy and health law for the nation. We study medicine in the broad sense, but we don't just study disparities in healthcare and outcomes. Boston University Medical Campus also cares for the underserved. Thus, Boston University is not an academic ivory tower. Academic vitality and creativity are enhanced by actual testing of theories with experience. The Boston Medical Campus is home to the largest Level 1 trauma unit in New England with more than 125,000 visits per year. Certainly, helicopters land multiple times an hour, transferring critically ill patients from community hospitals or accident sites. Seconds can make the difference between life and death. On the other hand, preventative services such as flu shots are equally important in saving lives. The medical campus culture of inclusion dates back to its origin. At a time when women were not permitted to be physicians, the medical center began as the Boston Medical College for Women. The first black MD in America was graduated in 1864 during the Civil War. The Boston School of Medicine became co-ed in 1973 and became the Boston University School of Medicine at that point. And the dental school became a school in 1963, and the School of Public Health most recently in 1976. Here's the Boston City Hospital in 1864. And with the merger with Boston University, it was co-ed and integrated. Today, the medical campus is home to 2,700 BU faculty and 3,300 students and residents. It's an exceptional place to learn, teach, and discover. The medical campus comprises 8 city blocks of hospitals, laboratories, and classrooms. Our faculty provide a health safety net for the city of Boston. Here's the Menino Pavilion, named after the mayor. We provide exceptional care without exception. That's the city hospitals. That's Boston Medical Center's motto, providing about $350 million in free care last year for uninsured patients. We have translators for 50 languages available at the medical center, and patients are also cared for in 15 affiliated neighborhood health centers. The dental school provides dental care for both adults and children. The New England Dental Access Project was funded with Robert Wood Johnson funds. It develops community-based educational programs and provides care to underserved populations. The Boston University Chelsea Dental Program provides dental education, screening, and referrals to services for children in the Chelsea Public Schools.
We're now looking down on Chelsea. Those dental pictures, you know, you look at the young people in those pictures, you don't know whether they know they're being served. They look a little terrified. But that clinic is in the Williams School. We're now looking down on Chelsea, Massachusetts, a little bit northeast of Boston, where we've run the schools for a long time, nearly 18 years. During the presidential search, my understanding is that no one, I think for good reason, told President Brown that the special legislation under which Boston University runs the schools makes the president of the university statutorily liable for pretty much everything that goes on in the Chelsea schools. Strictly speaking, the authority for the Chelsea schools is vested in the president, not the management team. So he has to hope that those of us to whom that authority has been delegated know what we're doing when we expel a student or make policy decisions or run the budget. No other university president in America has that authority in public education, or for that matter, that exposure. And you know, when this was explained to him by I guess it was me early on in his time here, I said, you know, this is your situation. You're actually liable, not me. Something like that. And he said, and this is a good thing? It is a good thing, or at least it's a good thing that we have worked in these schools for so long and with such energy and enthusiasm, and I think it's something the university can be proud of. It is really one of the warrants of our claim that we are engaged, and I think we have served, including even when we're doing things to young people in the dental chair that don't look like much fun. I'm zooming in on the Williams School complex. One more. That pie-shaped building is the music room at the Williams School. It's a middle school in Chelsea, which also houses the dental clinic. We've done a lot in that building, including music. So we've gone, in 18 years of the partnership, here's the front of the Williams School, from old buildings, broken down buildings, literally slate falling off the roof, to new buildings. We've gone from chaotic basic operations, accounts were not reconciled in the business office, to very solid business operations, from no curriculum to, of all things, a curriculum. It was a huge undertaking. I don't know that we really understood going in just how huge it was going to turn out to be. But I think it is safe to say, for those of you who watch television, it has been an extreme makeover. Not without its challenges, but we are proud of it. Here's the exterior of the John Silber Early Learning Center, named, by the way, at the community's behest for Dr. Silber. We teach some 400 3- and 4-year-olds there in what, by scale, is the biggest early learning program in the country that we know of. Here's some of the wonderful young people who study there and learn there and play there. And they come from all over the world and speak many languages. And we have built a very solid curriculum for them in a very safe environment. That's a library at the Chelsea High School. All our buildings have libraries, and they have books. No small challenge for us, by the way, in the early days, getting the books in there. I want to show you. You can see him. You'll see him in just a minute. Bob Antonucci sitting in the front row, now president of Fitchburg State. In our early days in Chelsea, Dr. Antonucci was serving as, who's an alumnus of the School of Education, by the way, was serving as Commissioner of Education. So he was really a front row witness, but also participant by his job description in our heartbreaks, our controversies, and then our successes as we moved forward. And I think you'll hear that he has some interesting thoughts and I think lessons for his own work as a college president from this experience. but the educational work is from both campuses.
We also have an interest in early childhood education. In 1989, the pediatric department, instead of giving a lollipop to the children as they came for their well baby visits from age 6 months to 6 years, began giving them a new book and talking to their parents about reading, because research has shown that one of the major determinants of language skills in children is reading together with their families. So this program has now gone national. This is the CityLab bus for middle school and high school education. This is a program that began also maybe perhaps 15 or 20 years ago, which stresses science education in Boston metropolitan area high schools. The children come and, at least these days, they're doing DNA testing a la criminal investigation and fingerprinting and learning the science behind these techniques in these laboratories. We certainly have lots and lots of schools who basically sign up fairly long time in advance for this program. This is the CityLab bus in front of City Hall. And here we have Mayo Menino with Dean Emeritus and President Emeritus Chebanian and some of the staff. For high school graduates now, we have the CityLab Academy. This is a collaborative program with Metropolitan College where people who would like to be technicians in pharmaceutical industries around the city or in university laboratories get training in laboratory tech skills. They also get 12 credits to start their education, and many of these students have gone on and gotten bachelor's degrees, and a few have even gone to medical school.
We're looking down on a Boston public school, the John D. O'Brien Technical High School, out there in the bright spot. We've brightened it up a little bit. We're going to zoom down on it. The university's commitments in the Boston public schools proper are extraordinarily vast and deep, and we're very proud of them. There it is. That's a lovely building, isn't it? I want to tell you, when we built buildings in Chelsea, we'd put windows in them, operable windows, learning some lessons from other schools. Our panelist today, one of our panelists, Tin Lee, who's sitting in the front row, is a graduate of this school. It's one of the Boston exam schools. And while at the O'Brien, Tin Lee took advantage of our Upward Bound program, which improves student study skills both during the school year and in summer programs, residential here at the university. As a consequence, principally, of course, of his own energies and efforts, but we like to think of our help with these programs. Tin Lee went on to earn a Boston scholarship and to attend Boston University. I'm going to show you a group of Boston scholars. Since 1973, Boston University has awarded over $108 million in scholarships, full scholarships, to the graduates of Boston high schools. These scholars, like Tin Lee, with very rare exceptions, have prospered here at the university, benefited from the education, and then gone on to lives of fulfillment and service and achievement. We do know from our experience in Boston and in Chelsea, and sometimes hard experience, that offering scholarships, however generous, is not enough. Students need to be ready to learn. Ruth Shane, who's both up on the screen here looking over some student shoulders and in the audience, runs the Boston University Collaborative Program, through which we provide a range of support services, many tied to programs in the School of Education, but not exclusively. Program supports for the Boston public schools, which includes tutoring, mentoring, professional development, and other things. And it's a big and substantial long-term effort. And she helps the Boston Scholars get launched, by the way. There's Bennett Goldberg, professor of physics, chairman of the physics department. It's a measure of the range of our engagements that I didn't know Bennett was working in the O'Brien High School until I heard of it from a Northeastern University colleague. Bennett, and that's one of the challenges I think Bob has caused us to think about. How do we pull these things together so we have a bigger impact in Boston and serve better by tying together our efforts without stifling creativity and vitality? Bennett runs a GK-12 science program. One of the iterations is called the Project STAMP, Science, Technology, and Math Partnerships. He and his colleagues have secured grants, and it puts physics graduate students and science grad students into the Boston Public Schools to work with teachers and young people.
This is one of our panelists, Dolores Handy Brown. Many of you will probably...
Hiding behind her folders.
Hiding behind her folder here. Many of you listen to her every morning on your way to work. I don't know if she's taping in the morning, but they're playing the tapes in the morning. Or here is Colin Powell at WBUR. WBUR is truly an asset to the city of Boston. Mayor Thomas Menino and John F. Kennedy at WBUR.
These are some of our young people from the university in the first year student outreach project. Our young people go out and serve the community in a variety of projects and ways, picking up trash, repairing houses. You can see what they're doing here. We do not, I'm sorry, I'm going to back up one step there. We do not have a service learning requirement, I think on the grounds that to compel volunteerism is oxymoronic.
You do it.
But our spirit of service is very strong, and it's rooted in our university history. We had wonderful proof of this last night and yesterday at the inaugural events, the more formal events that we had, where our students had, as sort of an inaugural gift to the university and in honor of Dr. Brown, committed 41,730, and I think even change hours of public service donated in honor of Dr. Brown's inauguration. Way back in the late 1800s, we were engaged in the communities of Boston. Morgan Memorial Goodwill Industries is actually an outgrowth of the early ministry of Henry Morgan, a lay Methodist preacher who died young. His work was picked up by a student at the School of Theology, Edgar Helms, who not only ministered but also thought that people needed productive work and was the founder of Morgan Memorial Goodwill Industries. It grew out of a Boston University initiative.
One of our panelists that you'll hear from shortly founded the Boston Center for Refugee Health and Human Rights. Susan Akram from the law school. And at the medical campus, we have the family advocacy program. Now, doctors and lawyers don't normally get along, but here they actually work together because there was a child who had asthma, and our pediatricians couldn't keep him out of the hospital. No matter what interventions they did medically, he had major problems. So finally, the pediatrician called in a consultant, a lawyer. And within a day or so, the area where the child lived was cleaned up, and shortly the child was back in school. And that developed into this program. The School of Public Health partners with the Boston Public Health Commission, the Housing Authority, and their tenants committees to also address health problems, access to health care, substance abuse, tobacco use, asthma, family violence. And the School of Public Health also provides half tuition scholarships for MPHs for 19 public health city employees per year in schools and community agencies. Medical personnel actually provide health care for the homeless. We make rounds to the homeless where they live. These are patients well known to us, provide medications under the bridges and in the parks where these people live. Here are students. We had Timberland Boots, gave us a truckload of warm boots just before the winter, and here are the students distributing the boots in this program.
We could not, in the space of a brief presentation, do justice to the range and depth of all that Boston University does and is for the city of Boston and the broader community. We really, I think, Karen and I have only skimmed the surface of it, and we would offer a preemptive apology to anyone whose program has been neglected. There are so many that we really do keep discovering them. We are taking good inventories, but we are engaged in every corner of the city in education, health care, and, as you can see, in theater. Here's a Huntington Theater production. That makes good photographs, by the way, another. The Huntington Theater is hosted at the Boston University Theater over on Huntington Avenue near Symphony Hall, and we are one of the sponsors of the theater. And it puts on wonderful productions which enrich the life of the city. The College of Fine Arts, among other endeavors in music and in schools, hosts, and this is just emblematic of what they do, the Greater Boston Youth Symphony Orchestra, which is a youth symphony, but they practice down at Walt Meisner's College of Fine Arts. We don't have pictures. We're proud to say the College of General Studies hosts the Saturday German school, in German, the Sonnabendschule, and we're very proud in the School of Education. We just started hosting this year the Saturday Albanian school, which I find kind of entertaining.
Sargent College has a wellness fair and particularly runs a balance program for seniors. Falling is a major cause of morbidity and mortality for seniors. The need for a hip replacement can be a lethal event, and keeping people walking and balanced actually does increase quality and quantity of life.
College of Engineering has a robotics challenge. This was developed by College of Engineering students who secured grant support. It's designed to help young people learn about engineering, particularly underrepresented young people who might not otherwise find their way into the engineering trade or discipline, forgive me.
Whoa!
The School of Education hosts an excellent reading and writing clinic where we help young people who are struggling readers. And we, as a university, provide this facility, of course, to our students, but the recreational opportunities for the community at our new Fit Rec Center and in our old facilities for many years, but of course the new facility is more attractive and appealing. There's a whole range of summer camp, weekend recreational opportunities that are available to the community and really, I think, enrich the life of Boston and help bind us to the community and demonstrate our seriousness about our being in the heart of the city and the service of the city. There's William Huntington, the second president of Boston University. In 1907, President Huntington said this, "The first decade of the 20th century has seen a new type of educational institution, namely the municipal university. Its campus extends throughout the entire length and breadth of the city. The parks and playgrounds, the industries, the shops, the libraries, the galleries, and the museums of the city are the laboratories and libraries of the municipal university. To this newest type of educational institution belongs Boston University."
Now it's the first decade of the 21st century, and we have paused to inaugurate a new president in the proud tradition of Murlin and Huntington to celebrate the long legacy of engagement. Our challenge is to live up to that legacy and build the programs that will make a difference in the future.
And there we are, looking at the city of Boston. Thank you. I'd like to invite our panelists to now come up on stage and take their places.
We have Dr. Raul Garcia. He's chairman of the Department of Health Policy, Boston University Goldman School of Dental Medicine.
We have Dolores Handy-Brown, my broadcasting colleague from a few years ago at WABU, and we're very honored to have you with us, Dolores. Tin Lee, Boston scholar, and a financial analyst and what's the title?
AVP.
AVP at Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank in New York.
Dr. Susan Akram, Clinical Associate Professor, Boston University School of Law, and Dr. Robert Antonucci, President, Fitchburg State College.
We'd like to lead off with some questions. We're going to start with Dr. Garcia. You know, it's nice. Spencer Frankel, the dean of our Goldman School of Dental Medicine, is here today, and we, you know, in our Chelsea work, we never took enough time to honor those who were quiet and unsung. And the dental program in our Chelsea schools has been one of the great successes and has been a great service for many years, all the years of the partnership. Because it's never once had a controversy, we sometimes forget it's there. It's just serving young people, and it's an occasion to thank Spencer Frankel, of course, and then to thank Dr. Garcia and ask Karen to put a question to him.
Well, how does Boston University School of Dental Medicine promote service learning in the curriculum?
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Karen.
Just wanted to make a comment about Doug's trope in regards to compulsory volunteerism. I guess that could be another form of service learning, or someone's very warped definition of it. Yesterday's events were really very moving in many ways, and many wonderful things were evident. And I think one of to me, the most wonderful things was what Doug noted earlier, the gift that the undergraduates gave to the university in honor of our new President Brown in regards to 40,000 hours of volunteer service to the community. I think it's just magnificent. And it is a gift, it's volunteering. At the School of Dental Medicine, we also have a great deal of volunteerism involved, but we've taken a somewhat different approach than simply volunteerism, simply adding things to people's already busy lives. We have taken the approach, and Dean Spencer Frankel has for many decades, of true service learning, the integration of community service as an integral, essential part of the curriculum. As one small example, in their 12-week rotations in the extramural community in Boston, primarily community health centers, our senior dental students give over 50,000 hours a year to serving community. And when you aggregate the service that our students do over the 4 years that they're in school, both in extramural sites, in community health centers, in school-based clinics, and other community-based sites, as well as our service at Boston Medical Center, we give hundreds of thousands of hours in service to the community in regards to oral health. Our students actually come to us at the School of Dental Medicine wanting this kind of curriculum, wanting to serve the community. And I think it's emblematic of the current generation of students, that they truly have a desire to serve. And I think the challenge to us as educators is how to integrate that desire to serve their communities as part of their educational experience. I think it's an essential challenge to us as educators, and I think at the dental school we have done a pretty good job. One of our leaders of the school, Dr. Michelle Henshaw, who's our assistant dean for community partnerships and extramural affairs, is a nationally recognized expert on service learning in dental education, was a fellow of the Community Campus Partnership in Health, specifically to focus on service learning, and is recognized as a leader in that area. Our students gain immeasurably from these experiences. They get a better understanding of community, going from cultural awareness to cultural competency to true cultural proficiency, because we involve them in community from day one for all 4 years of their DMD experience. There's certainly perception on the students' parts that their service in community, being an integral part of their curriculum, clearly gives them a greater sense of relevance of what their theoretical, didactic coursework is all about. And students love that sense of relevance. They love to learn by doing and integrate the doing with the learning, so the two are interchangeable, not add-ons. And lastly, the true service learning model really involves a reflection. It's not just simply an externship, an outside experience in a short-term intern placement. It really involves an iterative process over many cycles of didactic components, a structured and monitored extramural experiential learning experience, a return to campus for a deeply reflective, structured process where they evaluate what they have done as far as their own learning, but also has their work made a beneficial impact on the community's needs as defined by the community. And that iterative process, that feedback loop, then helps us in turn to improve our programs, improve our offerings, better integrate the students' experiences with their didactic curriculum, and make them not only better dentists, but I think also better citizens. One of the key components of true service learning is that in serving community, we're not determining for the community what their needs are. The essential element of true service learning is that we are responding as an academic institution based on what our students' needs are, as well as reflecting in true partnership the community-identified needs, and thereby really make it a successful experience for all our students. I think the last point I'm going to make is in regards to evaluation and research. We can only do this successfully and continue to implement this program and continue to be leaders nationally if we have data, if we have information, we have good data that we can evaluate to assess the effectiveness of our programs, both in regards to educational outcomes at the student level, as well as community health benefits at the level of the communities that are being served. In turn, what we've also found is that this is not, again, an add-on, that we're not just simply doing good education for students and good community service. We are doing one of the other critical missions of a School of Dental Medicine, is creating new knowledge, research, and scholarship, because only by these sorts of efforts can we really eventually address health disparities. As a small example, if it weren't for our community-based experiences and our relationships and our partnerships, we would not have been able to obtain several years ago an $11 million grant from the NIH to research to reduce oral health disparities in the greater community. We have, over the last several years, leveraged that $11 million to almost twice that much from other federal sources, from foundations, other federal agencies, to do research to eliminate oral health disparities. So you may ask, why oral health, and what is a dentist doing up here? And I can assure you, you haven't had any Chelsea problems, because all those children are happy patients, Doug. That I can guarantee. Yeah, well, you know, appearances may be deceiving, but they are happy patients, because if they hadn't been happy, I'm sure you or President Brown will have heard or will hear about it.
Certainly, there's a real problem with children having toothaches and it interfering with their education.
Yeah, and one of the key things is oral health matters. I'm sure few, if any of you, have ever had the experience of not being able to get dental care when you really needed it. Maybe not even having had the experience of dental pain that interferes with your life, your function, your ability to work, to go to school. Well, oral health does matter. It's an important determinant of general health and well-being, of individuals' quality of life, of their employability, of children's ability to learn in school without being in dental pain. Oral health is the largest unmet health need in Massachusetts. For every resident of Massachusetts that lacks medical insurance, 3 lack dental insurance. And they tend to be our most needy and poorest and most challenged citizens. So clearly, we are responding to an essential express community need. And I think we're doing it in a way that truly integrates that service in our curriculum to better educate dentists for the future.
Dolores Handy Brown, you're an anchor for WBUR. Can a great university really be a good neighbor?
Indeed. I'll have to say BU has been one. It has proven that it can be a great neighbor. As a reporter who came to Boston in 1982 and have been in this city since then, working with Doug at BU and commencement and things there, you get a first-hand look of how a city is run, the people, the movers, the shakers, why things happen. I had a friend who once described being a reporter as like having a box seat on history. In that box seat, you see a little bit of everything. And I've seen so much. The slideshow reminded me of how much a part of Boston BU has been. As I was preparing to come here, I looked down things. What should the university be doing? Is it an isolated tower, not a part of the community? As I went down a list of things that BU could be doing, everywhere I would make a point. Oh, they're doing that. They're doing that. They're doing that. I live in a community where every day I make connections with the partnerships and programs that BU has with the city of Boston. On the street where I reside in Dorchester, there's a young couple, man and wife. You have to say man and wife nowadays, or you can say man and man, or wife and wife. They're both professional. They're white. They bucked a trend. They had moved to Boston. When they had children, they decided to remain in Boston, in Dorchester. They decided to send their kids to Boston public schools. Their 2 sons have gone through Boston public schools and have done quite well there. She actually works in Andover. And every year, some of the students from Phillips Academy Andover come to have backyard barbecues in Dorchester. But she commutes to Andover every day. It was important to them that their children grow up in a world that was real, a world that was as diverse as the world they'd have to live in years later. So their children have gone to Boston public schools from pre-K right through high school. The oldest graduated from Boston Latin Academy last year, and I can't tell you how I felt when I saw the pride on his face when he realized that I knew that he had been named a Boston Scholar and was going to be coming to Boston University. This tall, lanky young man, straight black hair, dressing in black from head to toe all the time, always with headsets on, and you have to grab his attention. he was so proud that he was going to be a Boston scholar, a part of that. That's a direct connection to see the difference that makes in a young man's life, because sometimes we forget that kids give different signals. They may appear not to want to be a part of what's going on. Sometimes they're just trying to figure out how to get there, how to be a part of it. And being a Boston scholar is something that he had aspired to, an education at Boston University, and he's going to get it. I'm involved in a program that started almost 25 years ago, and BU was in on the founding of that program. It was not on the slideshow. The New England Conservatory and the Boston Symphony Orchestra and the Boston University School of Fine Arts, recognizing that there was a lack of diversity in the classical musical world, seeing no blacks or Latinos on the stage when they went to Symphony Hall or in any of the great halls around the country, started a program called Project STEP, String Training Educational Program. One of the people involved at the beginning was a man who'd been the personnel director of the BSO, and while there is a blind process for auditioning members of the BSO behind a screen, nobody sees them, there's a certain person who's going to get in an orchestra. And his name is Bill Moyer, not the Bill Moyer from Network News, but he recognized that all of the people who really were ready, who really were prepared, who really got picked, were people who'd started training as classical musicians when they were 5 and 6 years old. And they got together, these three institutions. I understand from Barbara Mays that when the dean of the BU school found out about it, he said, let's do it. He was excited about it. And BU has been an enthusiastic supporter of the school since then, identifying young children in the Boston Public Schools in a program called Focus on the Boston Public Schools at the kindergarten level, training them, providing them with the resources, the teachers, and the instruments, and sticking with them. Part of identifying the students is identifying the families who are going to be committed. But as long as the families are committed, the kids show the promise and the talents and the commitment, this program is paying for their education, their classical music education. And these kids are being placed in symphonies across the country. We don't have a BSO member yet. That's Bill Moyer's dream right now, but we will one day. We have students at Juilliard, students at Eastman, the great music schools around the country, and we have people in orchestras. One of our young men is young graduates is in an orchestra, I think in Brazil, the national orchestra there, because it's Latino and African American students. It's addressing that particular shortage. So that was one program. There is a controversy over BU right now that it's a challenge for you right now. The biolab in the South End. I spend my Saturdays from 7:30 in the morning till about 4:30 at the New England Conservatory because my kids are real small. And a lot of the parents I see in the orchestras and the chamber groups there are some people who live in the South End, and they're concerned about the lab. I say that the challenge for Boston University now is to address the fears of people who are concerned about that. On many levels, you've done an awesome job of reaching out to the community. I have to say, you haven't told the community as much about the job as the fact that so many people were surprised. As I was surprised, even though I've covered a lot of things that Boston University has done, I was surprised at how much more you've done. But getting the message out about what BU is, and right now the challenge is dressing the fears over the biolab. But can a great university, as Boston University is, be a good neighbor? Yes, Boston University has proven that.
I'm going to, do you want to address those fears now, or?
I'm a physician and obviously thought long and hard about the biolab, but we already know, and it's not a theoretical risk, that SARS has taken out the city of Toronto, in addition to many Asian cities, and anthrax was used as a biotourism tool. And we need a safe place to do that research. Workers, and we have significant numbers of people, not only at BU, but at Northeastern, Tufts, and Harvard who have expertise in infectious diseases, and this is a safe place for them to work. So the infectious diseases are not a theoretical risk. They kill people every day. We absolutely have to have a safe place for our investigators to do this research. And I think that you're absolutely correct. We have to get that message out to our community, and I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Tin Lee, I'd love to ask you, this is a great one to put to a financial sort. We're going to ask you a very scholarly question. Does engagement ever detract from or distract us from enlightenment?
Thank you. I tried this with my spreadsheet, but it didn't work out well. So I have to write something here. Engagement is a very powerful and can serve to keep enlightenment grounded in the real world. Community engagement changed my life. When I was a student in the Boston public school system, I was involved with Boston University Upward Bound program. And it was Boston University's member, through Shane, Mike Dennehy, Phương Gao, and many others, through their caring and interest in me, who changed my life and made me see that there was a lot more that I can aim for in life beyond what I was accustomed in Dorchester. These people helped inspire me to shoot for the stars. When I came to America 14 years ago, everything flipped upside down for me. From a 13-year-old spoiled brat, I became a poor, hungry kid. I didn't understand any English, and I had no one to turn for help. I was completely lost. The Upward Bound program was there to help me and encourage me to dream. I still remember Mike Dennehy guiding me during my undergraduate application process. I asked Mike if I should apply to that university across the river. He told me without any hesitance, "Yes, Tin, I think you should." I did and got rejected. Thanks, Mike. He's right there, by the way. Well, God really worked a miracle there. BU was much more than I could ever imagine. Mike instilled in me the value of having no fear of rejection as long as I give my best effort at what I do. That value of picking oneself up even when that individual is too tired to get up has helped me to get to where I am today. Not much, but somewhere. Boston University's engagement through the Upward Bound program and the Boston Scholarship Program has truly enlightened me. Such programs as Upward Bound and the Boston Scholarship are very significant ways in which the values of Boston University are grounded in its actions by rewarding academic merit and encouraging the participation of people of all backgrounds and socioeconomic class. And it is programs like Upward Bound and the Boston Scholar Program where students can have contacts with real members of the community that I have discovered as a student at BU, and even now, that the learning and growing process does not only benefit the recipient of the engagement, but also the student who may not have thought they would have learned by interacting with people from places like where I am from. I have talked with many people involved with the programs like the Upward Bound who say that this encouragement opened their eyes to others they would have never associated with their normal course of studies behind the protection of the university walls. As I have been both an organizer and participant in programs of engagement like the Upward Bound, I can tell you for sure that the benefit extends to all sides. Now, I am still shooting for the stars and feeling a strong sense of commitment to give opportunities to others to do the same by volunteering for the Upward Bound program and helping Vietnamese immigrants in Dorchester adapt to new lives in America. So I think engagement does not in any way distract from enlightenment. In fact, I am sure engagement enhances enlightenment. Thank you.
Dr. Susan Akram from the School of Law. How does your engagement in the community impact on how you teach in the law school, and how does your teaching in the law school affect your engagement in the community?
I'd like to start with some stories and then context, and then answer the questions.
Okay.
Not a very lawyer-like way to approach the response. After my mother was killed in front of me and I was raped by the relative who was supposed to care for me, I fled to live in the streets in the middle of the Civil War. I was 12 years old. I was kidnapped when I was about 12 or 13 by rebel soldiers along with my sister and held hostage in order to cook and be used as sex slaves for them. When we tried to escape, my sister was killed. I was tortured with electric shocks, hung with ropes from the ceiling for hours. Several of my nails were removed with pliers, and my head submerged in filthy water until I could no longer hold my breath and passed out. These are among the true stories our law students at the Boston University Civil Litigation Program hear regularly from their clients as they prepare their cases for interviews or hearings on political asylum and Convention Against Torture claims before immigration authorities. They learn interviewing techniques that will allow them, through hours of painstaking work, to elicit stories of torture and trauma that our clients have survived, and reconstruct those stories in a coherent fashion to meet the elements of the legal claims that must be filed in order to obtain safety and legal status in the United States. They learn counseling techniques to help clients make the difficult decisions of what options they have if their chances of success in the asylum case is low, or they are unable to bring surviving family members to the United States, or if they are ill and have no access to health coverage, or how they can survive without work authorization while they try to file their applications, or what they can do if they miss the one-year filing deadline for asylum claims, or how to survive being detained by immigration authorities while their cases are pending. The students learn the trial skills necessary to litigate the refugee and asylum cases in the immigration courts, before the Administrative Appellate Board, and in federal court. Refugee clients of the BU Civil Litigation Program come from all parts of the globe, seeking safety, reunification with family members in the Boston area, and some way to put their horrific pasts behind them and start a new life. Our average case lasts 6 years, some lasting up to 10 or 11 years, working through the labyrinth that is the immigration asylum process. The refugee and asylum cases are one piece of the greater work of Boston University Civil Litigation, this BUCLP Civil Litigation Program, where our students work in 5 areas of law: housing, family law, social security, and unemployment. We are housed in a collaborative effort with Greater Boston Legal Services in downtown Boston. We also have a criminal program at the BU Law School, where students are either prosecutors or defenders. But our civil litigation program is a 1-year immersion program where the courtroom is the classroom. Although the BU Civil Litigation Program is not unique in the sense that clinical legal education is now an accepted part of legal education in most law schools around the country, there are aspects of our work, particularly the refugee and asylum work, that is unique at Boston University. It is part of the first, and to my knowledge, the only interdisciplinary collaborative effort to provide a range of legal, medical, and psychosocial skills to assist survivors of torture in a university setting. The inter-university project, known as the Boston Center for Refugee Health and Human Rights, was founded in 1998 by Doctors George Annis, Michael Groden, Alejandro Moreno, unfortunately no longer at BU, Linda Piwer-Warzik, and myself, and now encompasses faculty and clinicians at the BU Schools of Law, Medicine, Dentistry, Social Work, and Public Health. With funding from the federal government's Office of Refugee Resettlement and other sources, the medical school has been able to dedicate faculty and staff time to the medical and psychosocial needs of torture survivors, while the law school's civil litigation program represents many of them in their refugee and asylum cases. For all the schools involved in this project, the work presents an important hands-on experience in translating theory into practice in a way that connects our students, our schools, and our faculty to the wider world of Boston and beyond. And so to answer the questions, how does this enhance teaching? How does this enhance students' learning? How does this enhance scholarship? What does this do to our understanding of traditional learning in the classroom? And what do students come away with as community and global participants? The Boston Center for Refugee Health and Human Rights reports over 300 patients from 67 countries each year. We have had an extraordinarily high success rate for our legal cases through this unique interdisciplinary partnership. We have lost no case since the partnership began. We have a close connection with Boston's social, medical, and other service network of caregivers. We help the whole client, connecting with housing, benefits, medical, vocational, and legal networks so the clients can start a new life, find their place and contribution in and to Boston. It is a connection with the world, working with people from every part of the globe, understanding their issues, connecting on a global basis with UN human rights, humanitarian agencies, and mechanisms, working on the global as well as the local level. The clients are our teachers. Our clients bring the world's teaching to our students, and the courtroom, as I said, is the classroom. In terms of engagement, our students have worked on a wide range of other kinds of cases, as well as the torture survivor cases. In the 1990s, we worked on secret evidence cases, which led to research and scholarship on how these cases brought anti-Arab, anti-Muslim institutionalized racism in the immigration system to light even before the post-September 11th backlash. Our work representing Palestinian refugees led to research and scholarship on how Palestinian refugees and stateless persons have been excluded from the minimum refugee law guarantees and mechanisms provided other refugee and stateless population. Our current work on Guantanamo refugee issues, which are now coming to the forefront as U.S. domestic courts become closed to the Guantanamo prisoners' claims. And engaging, that, as my students have done, within the UN systems, filing submissions to UN treaty bodies and human rights mechanisms on behalf of our refugee clients and on policy issues. I'm not a professor, I'm a facilitator. Our clients bring the learning to our students, and our students engage at all these levels through the work they do at the Civil Litigation Program and the Boston Center for Refugee Health and Human Rights. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to pose a question to the gentleman who, with a whimsical sense of humor, licensed me to be a public school superintendent on the strength of my...
Was that good or bad?
my background in international relations. Our question is and it's particularly appropriate for someone who's entrusted with a college or university, is what should we do when the university's legitimate goals, we stress legitimate goals, do not align with the city's goals?
The answer to the question is just keep working harder and collaborate. And thank you for having me here.
Would you care to elaborate?
Okay, I will. Just kidding. Basically, that's a good question. When we talk about collaboration, whether it's Boston University with the city of Boston or with the city of Chelsea, or whether it's Fitchburg State College with the city of Fitchburg, the principles are basically the same. While goals may differ, it really is all about ideas. The idea of what makes a richer and a stronger university, the idea of what makes a stronger city. And together, things can happen. And if you look at the history of Boston University, things did happen, and things will continue to happen. If you look at Fitchburg, where I come from, things are happening because I'm the president, and things will continue to happen because there is a commitment by the leadership, by the faculty, and by the students. What Boston University does for the city of Boston, or what Boston University continues to do for the city of Chelsea will always be remarkable because of the richness in what Boston University has to offer. To hear these stories today about the School of Dental, or from the law school, or from the School of Public Health, from the School of Education, and what we have contributed as a university to the children that we serve is just remarkable. We can never measure that with the kind of longitudinal studies we do because we have impacted many a student without ever noting what those results have been. And it's exciting. So as we look at collaboration, I just want to highlight Chelsea for a few minutes. I did license Doug as a superintendent, but I'll tell you why. It was the only university that stepped up to the plate to make a difference for children. Chelsea's experiment initially was called an experiment back in 1998. There was a lot of hesitation. The naysayers were out there. I thought yesterday when I was at your inauguration, Bob, and heard a few of the protests, my first meeting as commissioner, there were protests associated with Boston University, and it's because Boston University was this big conglomerate, this big educational institution that was going to take the rights and privileges away from those in Chelsea. The interesting thing at that meeting was that Boston University never wavered. There was an idea, there was a commitment, and there was a willingness to work hard. And when the request came in to license Doug and we looked at his background, there was that willingness and that commitment and that willingness to work hard that left us with no other answer than yes, we can do it. And why did we do it? Because we believed strongly in what Boston University was doing for the children in Chelsea. In any collaboration with Boston or any collaboration with the city of Chelsea has to be based on teaching and learning and students. When we do things, the student has to be the number one priority, whether it's the college students we heard about yesterday and the amount of hours that they volunteered, whether it's that child in the early childhood center in Chelsea, whether it's the child being serviced as for a dental problem, whether it's the child who steps up to the plate in the Upward Bound program and who is successful. That's what it's all about. The mayor can talk about collaboration, Bob can talk about collaboration, we can all talk about partnerships, but if we don't believe in what we do, we will not be successful. The other important point is sustainability. Let's use Chelsea again. Boston University did not step into Chelsea for 3 years and walk away. There were many that wanted them to walk away. And at that time, it would have been much easier to walk away. But Boston University said, we're in it for the long haul. We will sustain our involvement, and we will stay the course. And if we can use those principles in any collaboration, we will be successful. And by Boston University's demonstrated actions, by their demonstrated experience, by their commitment, a difference has been made. And the lives of many children and many students have been made better and richer because of that collaboration and because of that continued, sustained involvement. And that really is what it's all about. And so as we look at the future and as we look about being good neighbors, what I've learned from Boston University is what I try to practice as a college president. Chelsea is very similar to the city of Fitchburg, where I now work. I grew up in Fitchburg and left and came back 25 years later as its president. I was a superintendent, I was a commissioner, and I'm a college president. And what I forgot was that I thought things had been changed over those 25 years. And when I walked back into Fitchburg, I saw the same thing I saw when I was a student there. I had no choice. Fitchburg was it. My parents were immigrants. I was the only one in my family that went to college. But Fitchburg had become a deprived economic community because the paper mills closed and because General Electric moved out. And in my tenure as president, I try to be a leader. I try to collaborate. We are the economic engine for the city of Fitchburg. Without Fitchburg State College, the city of Fitchburg cannot thrive. And without the city of Fitchburg, Fitchburg State College cannot thrive. And we make that message known to our students. And the same is here at Boston University. Without the city of Boston, without the city of Chelsea, Boston University cannot thrive. And Boston University cannot thrive without the city of Boston and without the city of Chelsea. And I end by answering this question. Can Boston University be a good neighbor? Not only a good neighbor, but a great neighbor. Boston University will be a concerned neighbor. Boston University will be an engaged neighbor. Boston University will be a neighbor to be proud of. And Boston University and Chelsea and Boston together can forge the city's future to make it richer, to make it more productive, and make it the best possible place for its students that it serves. And Bob, it's what I tell my students at Fitchburg. Fitchburg State College is the #1 state college in Massachusetts. And the students ask me why. I say, because I said so. And when the president says the college is the #1 state college, it is. Now, we need to produce to make sure we are. But that belief permeates everything on our campus. And let me tell you, Bob, you can say that Boston University is the #1 university in Boston because Bob Brown said it. And Bob Brown will make it happen with the cooperation and the willingness of the faculty, the staff, and the students. And I congratulate you as the #1 president here at Boston University.
Well, we would be honored and pleased to entertain questions discussion and commentary from the audience.
Just make sure you get a mic.
This is a question for any of the panelists. Not a lot of people within the university know about all the ways in which we're involved in the city. Is there a better way to get the word out to the BU community that all of this is going on and to facilitate collaboration where it's appropriate?
I almost think that's one for Dolores to start on. Is that fair? Yeah.
20 years ago, there would have been a way I could have answered it. Call with your great stories to the assignment editors. But unless your name is Angelina or Brad, it's a little tougher to get your story out in the broadcast outlets nowadays. Because for some reason, many have decided that based on, they say, people want to hear the People news. Remember when People was a line in Time magazine? And then it became a magazine, and now it's thick and Time is small. Yes, the thing is to make the connections, to reach out, to tell the stories. I think, the conversation we just had about the story, about the fear, about the biolab. When it's reported now, because there's such a small amount of time allocated for it, it's about the fears and the fact that the money has been, the designation has been made, the approval has been made, and what might be studied there, but not why there's a need to study. So what you do is challenge, as she did me today, do a story more in-depth, and that the best way I could say is, as far as the university, within the university, I'm not sure how you would get that word out, because I found out that a lot of people in the university are not aware of the ways that Boston University is involved in the community. Most of those programs up there I've done stories on. In fact, I did a story on Project STEP when it was founded 25 years ago. One of your trustees, I think he's still a trustee, was one of the founding members, Mel Miller. And so that's how I know by being a reporter. I'm not sure that story would get covered nowadays. As far as disseminating the information within the university, I'm not sure how you can do that. You do have newsletters and all kinds of publications. BU today. But as far as getting the information out to the city, I just believe the best way to do it is to be persistent in getting the message out. The university, you could spend forever trying to tell all of your programs when I listened to what you were talking about.
Oh, this is only a small.
I know.
This is a menu. We actually compiled a list to start with, and we probably touched perhaps 1 in 20 programs.
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing.
Amazing.
Raul, did you want to say a couple words on that?
No, just persevere, persevere, persevere. There's not going to be any easy solution. And I think you're right. The media market is incredibly saturated. The kinds of things people believe that the citizenship is interested in are the celebrities. It's going to be tough.
If I may just add a little bit on that, one of the reasons I tell the story about the dental program and Spencer Frankel and you is that for most of us, we ourselves, we criticize the temptation to look to the lurid and the provocative. Sometimes I think we have to build the habit of mind to remember that these good things need to be talked about. It's not just I would not want to blame the media. I think it's something in our own characters. It's easier to be consumed by other things, and we have to try and make it a discipline to remember to first to thank. The habit of gratitude is good, but to talk about these important contributions.
And identify sources of great information. WBUR, National Public Radio, still committed to bringing you news.
At Boston University.
At Boston University.
At Boston University.
It is one of the great stations in the National Public Radio system. The Car Talk, On Point, Here and Now. These programs originated here at Boston University. So,
Dr. Antman, I know, is a BUR junkie.
I am.
Just another point also on that. It's and you talk about stories. I'm thinking about Upward Bound again. It's a program that's been around for a long time, and when programs are around for a long time, people don't tend to communicate about their effectiveness because we're so used to it. And so the thing that we find is we just have to keep it in the forefront. The Chelsea partnership is 18 years old. As it gets older, people tend to forget about them. Same with us. As we get older, they forget about us. But you don't want to do that. You have to keep at it, and you can't wait for the media to do it. You have to really take responsibility for it. And my theme, I use it all the time being a former elementary teacher, is repetition is the key to retention. Just keep telling the story, and people will begin to believe. And if you don't, they won't.
Any other questions?
Can I just
right back?
Oh, we have one.
Yeah,
Susan,
okay.
sorry.
Another comment?
Briefly to that for some of us, there's a tension between wanting the spotlight on our work and wanting not to have too much information, yet not enough information. The areas in which I work, immigration and refugee law, have very controversial aspects for much of the public. And at times when we were working on secret evidence cases, for example, the Guantanamo work, when there's publicity on particular aspects of our work, we've gotten hate mail and various kinds of threats. And so it's not just an issue of getting the information out, but having a deeper understanding of what the work is really about, so that it doesn't feed into existing stereotypes that many people do have about some of these areas of work.
Thank you.
In the back left?
A question for Dr. Antman. In a display case at the Boston University Medical Campus, it explained how about 100 years ago, BU hospital training was homeopathy. It was one of 20 schools in the United States that were teaching homeopathy. Well, we know it's gone out of favor, largely. Do you see a return in any time soon, Dr. Antman, of homeopathy?
I think that we have addressed a number of medical techniques with the same techniques that we use for studying drugs that are developed by industry, and a number of randomized trials have looked at things like homeopathic treatment, and haven't found either a scientific basis for why it should work or that it does. And I think it's very important for the public, many of whom do use non-standardized treatments, to at least have access to scientific studies of homeopathy and other kinds of treatments that actually cost Americans almost as much as we pay for standardized medicine, and therefore it's a major industry in the United States. But I don't believe that there have been too many areas where, in fact, any of them have been proven to be successful. Now, having said that, there are drugs that come from plants. Digitoxin comes from a digitalis plant. Vinca, which is an anti-cancer drug, comes from the Vinca plant. Taxol comes from a tree. So there are many pharmaceutical ways of looking at new treatments that have actually used plants and nature. But homeopathy specifically, which is basically taking a small amount of a compound, putting it in water, and then diluting it almost infinitely, doesn't seem to have a whole lot of evidence for it. Having said that, the Europeans use it a lot, especially in Germany.
Have we another question out there?
There's one over here.
Great.
This is an opportunity for Professor Facilitator Akram. You said that your center, which I think was founded in 1998, hadn't lost any cases. And I just want to note that, of course, the BU football team for more than a decade hasn't lost any games. So would you like to say that at least, you've won a few?
Maybe I could just respond that I think the impact for our clients of winning their cases totally in a magnitude of 20 outstrips the effects of the winning of any sport game.
Are there other questions? Back there.
In the corporate world, of course, there's the idea of corporate citizenship. And if you go around the various corporations, these are often special programs within corporate structures that are dedicated to stressing how many hours their employees volunteer and what special grant programs they might have to support the communities in which corporations work. And to some extent, it seems to me what's been discussed is university academic citizenship, the way in which academic institutions are good citizens. To what extent, a lot of the research that goes on here now stresses to what extent corporations are good citizens merely by doing what they do, by being good businesses. To what extent does the story need to be stressed that universities are good citizens simply by doing what they do, simply by educating students in academic disciplines and performing research in producing new knowledge?
I think the question of the university's original ends being legitimate of themselves. Bob, would you like to take a crack at that one?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. That's true. I think by the very nature of what we do with our students, basically, is learning, and that's when I said earlier about teaching and learning. It really instills within students the ability to think, the ability to be good citizens. And for example, as you said, in the corporate world, I've had some experience there. We do a lot of things, and is that measured by the amount of money we give? I think on a corporate level, sometimes when a number of these companies have left Boston, it's, well, we're going to lose X number of dollars in donations. I think the human capital is much more important, and that's what we do in the university. So in that context, I think what we do as universities and colleges in itself is giving back to the community. We're creating for society a much more educated workforce.
What about the balance between academics and application? Normally in universities, people are rewarded for scholarship rather than application. Is this a good thing in and of itself? Should we be rewarding some of our faculty for application?
We'll hear from a faculty member first.
I think that's a $65,000 question. I mean, there has been, speaking from the point of view of traditional law school learning, there's a tension between the clinical teaching and the straight academic teaching, and the clinical teaching is a different track. It's not rewarded in the same way as the academic track. Even if clinical teachers do produce scholarship, which they do. So perhaps what is required is a whole new look about the holistic approach to teaching and learning, and that they're all of a piece. I can't imagine teaching my substantive classes in immigration law, refugee law, or international human rights without bringing in what we've learned from applying this law to cases. My students tell me in the first semester they never understood evidence until they went into the courtroom and had to use it. Well, evidence is primarily taught in a very theoretical way. So, one could go through most of the legal disciplines and look at it both ways. Is the theoretical teaching, can it be enhanced by practical application, and vice versa? Can the application teaching, the field work, be enhanced by a tighter relationship with the theoretical? I think this is an issue that really needs to be engaged, and frankly, I think BU is a great place for that to happen.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the challenge, particularly in health professions education, is that if you make the dichotomy between scholarship and the applications, it's not a true dichotomy. It just can't exist. You can't dichotomize scholarship in medicine or dentistry from the applications of that scholarship in regards to interventions. I think the two are intimately wedded, and I think perhaps it's been easier to measure so-called scholarly output, and perhaps because it's an easy metric to develop, that's what people have focused on in ranking and promotions and other criteria. I think the challenge is to develop similar kinds of rigorous metrics to assess and evaluate service learning, the outcomes of actually intervening in communities to improve health, to understand how students are better served and become better professionals themselves by these extramural service learning experiences. So I think part of it is we just sort of wound up looking at what was easy to measure and using that as a criteria. I think it's an artifact, certainly in the health professions world.
Other questions?
Well, in that case, I think we shall wind up, if that's all right with you, by thanking our extraordinary panelists for committing time, energy, and thought to the enterprise of commenting and thinking today.
Doug was too modest in not including himself and Karen in the thanks, because as you saw, they were very well organized and had questions posed and primed for the panelists, so they did a lot of beautiful work in organizing the session. Let's thank them too. We're breaking early, so you can have a little bit more rest. We will reconvene at 2 o'clock for a session, the third symposium at that time. Hope to see you all there. Take care.